I'm Tori, and today we are going to do a quick tutorial on how to make these adorable knitted pumpkins using the Sentro 48 pin as well as the 22 pin. Now you can make these without the smaller Sentro. I made quite a few of these just using sticks from the yard. You can also use, recycled cardboard, that kind of thing, to be the stem. You can also crochet the stem, whatever works for you. But I'm just going to show you because now that I got the little baby that just came a couple days ago, I find this to be super, super awesome to make those quick little stems that look like this. Now, the yarn I'm going to be using today, I actually thrifted both of these, so I don't know what the weight is. This one definitely feels a little chunkier. I'm going to say this one is probably a 4. And then this one is a little bit lighter weight, but they both worked just fine and they're not cotton. These are not cotton. These are definitely like an acrylic, but they both worked really, really well on both of the machines. And I know that that's always a question that comes up a lot with these is, doesn't the yarn get stuck? And with these, I did not find that to be the case. And this is a really quick project. It worked up really fast and you can see they are so adorable. Now, the other thing that I am using in this project, I'm going to use a crochet hook. I'm going to use an H. Here we go. Oh, wow, I'm not even showing you. I'm going to use this crochet hook, but you do not have to. You can actually just use a needle to cinch things together. And then the last tool that I have that I like to use, it's this dark recycled polyfill. This works really well because it's dark, and that way I only have to do a single layer, which is why they work up so quickly. So let's dive right into the tutorial.
As you start using your knitting machine, you're going to find tons of projects you'll want to make and keep track of. So I created this knitting machine journal. Now I'm going to give you all of the steps in this video, but if you want to support the channel, I'll link to the Etsy below and you can print your own knitting machine journal. So we're going to start with the 48 pin, and you'll notice I'm not using any waste yarn. I'm just going to cast on like I normally would. Now you can control the size of your pumpkins by how many rows you actually knit. So for like the really big pumpkins, I do like 40 to 45 rows. For this one, I actually ended up only doing 25 because I wanted to have a little bit of variation between the different sizes of pumpkins. So this is just going to be your working yarn. And as you know, you set your timer, and then you do want to go slowly around the first thing. Now, one thing you may notice if you are just starting out with your knitting machine, you'll see as it comes around here again in just a second, I actually have taken a black permanent marker and marked right next to my last pin. And I needed a visual representation of that pin. It really has been helpful for me, so that might be a tip that works for you as well. So we'll just continue for 25 rounds of the pumpkin. Again, it goes really, really fast, and then we will go to the next step. So once we get to the end of those 25 rows, we're going to cast off in a normal fashion. We do not need to use waste yarn for this because we're going to be cinching the top and essentially sewing over it with the yarn so you won't be able to tell. It won't look messy at all. So you're just going to cast off here using the needle and yarn method, and you do want to leave a really long tail. So when you cut that yarn, make sure it's long because that's what we're going to use to create the body and the shape of the pumpkin. Once we remove the body, we're going to place it to the side and we're going to switch to the 22 pin where we're going to make the stem. Now again, this step is optional because there are so many other alternatives that you can use for a stem. You could crochet it, you could use cardboard, you could use ribbon, whatever you want to do. But since I just got this 22 pin, I wanted to give it a go. So I actually ended up doing 15 rows of this green yarn to make the stem. Now that we have both of our pieces, let's start the construction process. And we'll start with the stem. Now, there are a few different ways that you could form that stem. In the past, I actually created just a hollow tube. I've done that. But for this one, what I did is I ended up cinching one of the sides just a little bit just to give it a shape. And then you'll see that as you start to turn it in on itself, it really starts to take that really cool stem shape. So with the side here, you can either crochet that together. You can, if you don't crochet, you can actually just take a needle and stitch it together. Since this is going to be a visible join, I decided to do crochet. I actually love crocheting anyway, so that was a no-brainer. But like I said, you could just use a needle. Now I'm going to be using kind of a mattress stitch. I'm just getting those posts underneath the stitches. If you don't crochet, again, you can just fast forward past this piece. But I'm just doing a little mattress stitch to attach both sides. But then I also am including that piece, that tail. So then that way it gets weaved in, and then we have both tails at the bottom. Now for the body piece, we're gonna cinch one of the edges. Don't forget to give it a good stretch, but we are gonna cinch one of the ends, not all the way, because this is where we are going to attach our stem. So you're just gonna pull it so that there's a little bit of a hole there so everything is attached. And then you're gonna take your stem piece and put it right on in the center. Make sure to pull those tails through. You don't want those on the outside. Then you're going to connect your stem to the body. I actually do use a needle for this instead of crochet. I find it works super well because you can't really see the yarn, especially if you're using that long tail in the coordinating color of the body. And since it can't be seen, it's really easy just to do a simple stitch with a needle. So after you've connected your stem, now it's time to actually make the body and put the stuffing in it. So you'll find I give it a little cinch here, and then I do want to make sure that those tails are tied off. I do keep the stem tails. I'm going to use them as stuffing so that they don't become waste. And then I am going to make sure that I take the body yarn. You'll notice that I actually take that body yarn right here and I pull it towards the top. We don't want that in the stuffing right now. So we're going to take that stuffing and we're just going to fill it to whatever your heart's content is, and then make sure that that green yarn is hidden and it doesn't show through. Then you'll want to cinch that bottom closed and pull the top working yarn through the center. And then you're going to use that same yarn to actually close up that circle. You can do it a number of different ways, whatever works for you, but you just don't want to have any of that stuffing coming out. And then once you get that closed up to the way that you want, I actually join those two body yarns together and do 3 knots in the yarn. Now for this one, I made a mistake. I actually ended up cutting off one of the pieces of working tail and I worked it through the project. Now you're going to do that at the end, but I wouldn't do it yet because having that available is actually going to help finish off when we get to the very end. So don't do this here, just leave it until the end and then you can work it through. To make the pumpkin shape, you are going to take that long working yarn and you're going to use those little pleats there, those little gathers actually. That is going to help you determine where your yarn goes. You do want to get 6 even sections, and so you'll just take your yarn, pull it to the top, and then just pull it down with the needle into the center, back down through the bottom. And you're going to repeat this multiple times until you get those 6 even sections. This is where having that second piece of body yarn would have come in handy because then I could just do 3 knots here and weave it in. Instead, what I had to do is actually knot this one piece of yarn to the body itself. It wasn't visible, but it would have been easier to have both of those yarns. So once you lock this in place and you weave the working yarn through the body to hide it, you're done. So try different colors, different sizes. Let me know how it works for you. Also, if you like this content, subscribe and like the video. Would love that. And also let me know if there's any other projects you want me to show you how to do. Thanks so much, everybody. See ya!